How did each NASCAR Cup Series team's 2025 season stack up? We break out our red pens with our letter grades. All this and more. It's a brand new episode of the Backroad coming right at you.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Two from the stage.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad. It is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. Elliot Hicks and Seth Woolcock here with you. The off season is in full swing, and it's time to start looking back on how everything went in the 2025 season.
Elliot, pleasure to be back with you tonight. Pre-recorded this episode is once again, but a delight either way, man. It's a great time in life. First snowfall of the year here in Pennsylvania this week. I don't know if you got that down in the Berg, and we got Busch Light camo cans out right now. So life is good, my friend, and we're starting to kind of look back at where we were right, where we were wrong in 2025, seeing where these teams actually stacked up, and give us a little more insight before we start diving back into the betting markets for 2026. So it's a golden time, and glad to be here with you, my friend.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And usually one of our segments on the show is in the rear view. The next couple of shows are kind of in the rear view, looking back at everything from 2025. We got the award show out of the way last week, named our most valuable, least valuable, best drives, most surprising driver, things like that. You can go back and check that out now if you missed it. And don't get me wrong, we'll be live with you guys throughout the off season, but a couple pre-recorded ones to go out there. And yeah, tonight we'll continue looking back on the Cup Series report cards, breaking down the stats and seasons for each Cup team and grade their years, how they went on, starting with champions to the guys down in 36th place. We'll break it all down tonight. And just because the racing season is over, it does not mean that we are forgetting about the IBT Racing family, our exclusive Discord chat. A great year this year. We had the betting model do very well for us. The NASCAR betting cards at times did pretty well. Memorabilia giveaways, we're a little behind on those. We got to keep those rolling, and we will continue those into the new year. Mm-hmm. And the conversation doesn't stop either. We were talking about some F1 bets and some of the futures that are already starting to come out. Still a good time over there in the IBT Racing family, and also a good time in the football family as well.
Yeah, man, as one sport ends, another just heats up, right? We got NFL playoffs not too far away, college football playoff as well. So things are certainly shifting over in the football landscape consistently. We're staying on top of it in the football family. And yeah, as you mentioned, I laid out, hey, anyone interested in a little Daytona 500 minus money bet before we get into things here, and maybe a little parlay action. So we're already starting to talk about it. I think it didn't go a week that you were in there, hey, anyone got the itch right now? No Truck Series race on a Friday, and a couple F1 bets, as you mentioned. So love to see it, man. And that's the exact type of sickos that I like dealing with over there in the IBT Racing and football family.
Yeah, you're right. I put in the chat Friday evening. I'm standing in the middle of the shopping mall about 6:40. I'm like, I wonder how the truck race is going. Oh, wait, it's the off season. We don't have that. But still a good time over there, and still going to be rocking and rolling, both with the racing and the football. And the nice thing is the football winds down, the NASCAR starts to pick back up. Just all kinds of fun over there, just as it is any way that you guys can interact with us. Go ahead and like and subscribe at the very least if you enjoy what we're doing. We always appreciate it. Shout out to everyone on the YouTube. Shout out to everyone on the audio version on Apple Podcasts. Shout out to those in West Tennessee, 101.5 FM, still rocking and rolling 8 o'clock Saturday nights. The links to all the fun that we've got going on here at In Between Media, just down below in the episode description. That was more of a thumbs down. Let's do like a point down. We're enjoying what we got going on here.
Double shooters in the holster, baby. Double shooters in the holster.
Exactly. So the holsters of the NASCAR betting season are put away for the year. So it is time to take a look back at how everything went on the Cup Series side in the rear view. So we'll break down each of the Cup Series teams based on how they performed in the driver standings, starting, of course, with the champion Kyle Larson and Hendrick Motorsports. He's probably the place to start here, Larson taking home the title, even though Denny Hamlin probably earned it as the 5 team that ends up winning the 2025 championship.
Yeah, it's such a bittersweet end of the season because I think we all would have came in here and rated Hendrick and Kyle Larson specifically quite a bit lower than I think a season ago. Led 600 less laps, did the number 5 car, won three fewer times, and also got the worst in average start and finish that he's had in quite some time overall on a season. So did have 4 more top 10s than last year, but Elliot, I think overall like it was kind of disappointing. It felt like Larson didn't have the race winning speed we are used to, especially at the mile and a half and the short tracks this season. And honestly, even his road course prowess really down on the year as well.
Yeah, the road course especially really, really bad. Other than the Roval at the end of the year, pretty terrible there for Larson. And Larson, of course, ends up with the title. 3 wins for him. Still going on a winless streak dating back to May, though, at Kansas. 15 top 5s, 22 top 10s. And I feel like both Larson and William Byron, their playoff runs, kind of helped Hendrick look a little better than they were for the year. You talk about Byron winning Martinsville in the playoffs, one of 3 wins for him, 11 top 5, 16 top 10s, also the Daytona 500 champ. So it was a good start to the year for Hendrick in that sense. But the playoffs in general, and of course we'll talk about the other drivers as well, but overall for Hendrick, the playoffs and winning the title really helped them because going into the playoffs, you had Byron had only had 2 wins, and they were both a little more fluky than we thought. He had dominated races, but still had only had the 2 wins. Strategy at Iowa, lucky break at Daytona. Mm-hmm. Larson hadn't won since May. Chase Elliott's only win was on a super speedway. And normally at least the 4th Hendrick car wins a race, and Bowman hadn't even done that. The playoffs really did help out Hendrick's overall rating for the season and how we look back at the 25 season for HMS.
It certainly did because, we'll talk about some other teams later on, but Joe Gibbs Racing, they just absolutely collected all the wins this season, right? And it was a little bit slow. Like you did get your 2 out of 4 drivers in the championship, all 4 in the playoffs. That is really what, to me, is boosting their grade when we reveal the grades for me, Elliot. And like at the same time, I think one of the biggest areas of disappointment for Hendrick and an area for improvement next season is going to be in qualifying, right? They were just not good off the truck, any of them. Chase Elliott specifically, but Larson didn't have many poles this season. Byron was probably the best one in qualifying, but all of them down in average starting position this season.
Yeah, and it really didn't help in the playoffs either. Byron, of course, ended up 4th in the driver standings this year. For Chase Elliott, did get 2 wins, but again, I don't want to hamper on that everything was a fluke for Hendrick. Obviously, they had a good year, but winning at a super speedway and then taking advantage of Denny Hamlin, sending it to Kansas. 2 wins, maybe better than we thought the 9 would look. 8th in the points, though, just barely missing out on the championship 4. 11 top 5s, 19 top 10s. Winning his home race at Atlanta, probably the big highlight of the year for Chase Elliott.
Yeah, I think Chase Elliott, to me, he's actually one of the bright spots for Hendrick this season, I think, because he won the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray. Let's not forget about that as well. And also top 5 on 3 of 6 road courses this season. That was something in this next-gen car we hadn't seen as much out of the number 9. So I was really happy about that. Did double his win total from a year ago, but also had the same exact amount of top 5s and top 10s and only 23 more laps led for Chase Elliott. So I think there were some high highs, but I just want to see a little bit more of those low lows disappear for him.
Yeah, for Chase Elliott, it really is that consistency that helps him, but obviously you want higher highs when you're with the best Chevrolet team and what some people would argue is the best team in the garage. And that's the same sort of thing that people are looking for out of Alex Bowman. No wins for him in 2025. Out in the round of 16 for the first time in his career, ends up 13 in the final driver standings. 6 top 5s and 16 top 10s. And it wasn't a year where they had no speed. You had the 2nd place run at Homestead, leading with less than 10 laps to go before Larson passing by. At Richmond, nearly caught Austin Dillon for the win there at the end of the playoff season, or at the end of the regular season, to earn that playoff spot. But the last oval win for the 48 team, March of 2022 at Las Vegas. And in a contract year, not really something you want to see, even though it's been consistently tough to have 4 cars in an organization really run well. We haven't seen it since probably Roush in 2005 when they put all 5 cars in the chase. There's always going to be a team that's laying back, but especially, like I said, in a contract year, it's going to be time for Bowman to kind of put up or shut up in this 48 car.
It feels like the last few Alex Bowman seasons have been arguably similar outside of a win here or there, right? You start off hot every single season, almost go win the Daytona 500, usually have a top 10 coming out of that race. And then you can count on Coda every single season as a top 10, maybe a top 5 as well. So he usually starts pretty well. And he kind of did the same thing this year. he didn't have like the absolute collapse in the summer like he has usually, but he did have like he didn't go all the way down to the bottom of the valley, right? But he was definitely on a plateau, and it felt like he never really got over that hump. And we saw it, man. Like he decreased this season on the whole, in top fives, in top tens, average start, average finish, and outside of a couple races here and there, you named them Homestead, Richmond. Did you really think Bowman was going to win any other time this year? You were a fan of him, so you can probably speak to that more than anyone else.
Yeah, and those were the two races with the most speed. Super speedways, obviously, a couple things could break here or there. But in terms of that, it's just one of those where, and part of it's the qualifying speed, a couple of poles early, but then kind of getting caught back in the pack, just having general inconsistent races. Didn't have the summer slump, but instead of the summer slump and rising up in the playoffs, it was summer staying pretty solid and then a big time downswing in the playoffs. Obviously, not helped by the pit crew and not helped by the scheduling, but still, you normally see more out of Bowman in the playoffs, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah. And I honestly think for me, when giving out the letter grade, maybe there was no one more impactful than William Byron, despite him not winning the championship, right? Led almost 1,000 more laps than last year, Elliot. I mean, I feel like the only thing that dinged him is his average finish did go down a little bit this year, but that was because he had so many weird situations. I mean, we all remember Chicago, right? Goes right out there. If you had him on any type of a betting card other than fading him, you were pretty disappointed there. So I think William Byron, though, seeing the consistency and him get a couple more wins, especially late in the season there in the playoffs, where we really hadn't seen that from him, right? He was a guy who would consistently advance to the championship for the round of 8, but it felt like he was doing it more of a pointing his way in. But Martinsville was such a highlight for this guy, and he's someone I think now, like it's him and Blaney at Martinsville now. I think they're 1 and 2 together. They're kind of back and forth, while I always kind of thought it was Blaney's race to lose. I mean, everyone remembers as well, William Byron, I think it was 2024, wins Hendrick, their anniversary win as well out there in the Ville.
Yeah, when they all were in those ruby red cars, 1-2 finish for HMS on that day. And yeah, for Byron, you talk about 3 wins there, but Las Vegas in the fall, if he doesn't get Ty Dillon, might have won. The Coke 600 led a bunch of laps. Chastain got him at the end.
Good point.
Southern 500 leads the first 300 some laps in that race and ends up missing out. So that would have made the season look a lot better. And I think we're both kind of on the same page here in terms of a letter grade. If they were not able to walk away with the title, I think it's a B to a B minus year for Hendrick. But those wins at the end of the year, being able to win the championship, I'm going to give HMS an A minus.
I'm going to go an A. Yeah, right there with me. Like Bowman and him not getting a win kind of dings him a little bit. And Kyle Larson's lack of wins throughout the majority of the season, that also dings them. But getting the championship, getting the Daytona 500 Crown Jewel, that fall Martinsville race, that was really important. And seeing Chase Elliott really come back to at least getting a couple dubs, 2 in the regular season, 1 also in that clash race out there at Bowman Gray. That was something special as well. So that's, I think it was those moments. It was a couple of, specific moments rather than consistent race winning speed all year long that really does it for Hendrick for me, and give him an A this year.
Especially in this format, that's really all you need is those moments. And it worked with Hendrick. But if you're looking at more of a season-long aspect, it might be Joe Gibbs Racing that you look at as probably the best team this year. Got to start with Denny Hamlin, second in the points, did everything but win the title there at Phoenix. Series leading 6 wins for Hamlin this season, 14 top 5s, 18 top 10s. Remember, he did miss a start at Mexico City. And like I said, all but won the title there for Denny Hamlin. And a really good year, too, for Chase Briscoe. I'll kind of group them together. 3 wins, breakout year for him, 15 top 5s, 19 top 10s, and making that championship 4 run for the 19. Both of these guys were really the leaders of JGR, especially down the stretch this year.
Man, I was wowed by both of these drivers. Denny specifically because, like, he just doesn't age, right? Like, this guy, I don't know what he's drinking. I don't know what he's eating. I don't know what he's doing in his off time, but the guy has just completely been dialed into his prime for a very long time. And he stayed just as consistent this season as he was the last 2 years. But what was surprising, I think, is the big swing at the crew chief position actually brought him 3 more wins. Yeah, I think part of that is elevating better people around him to the positions that they need to be in to call the shots. And so I think that was great. And Chase Briscoe, when it comes to him, he is an absolute rock star here, Elliot. I mean, way more effective this year than MTJ was in this number 19 car in his final season. He had 13 career top fives coming into this year. He had 15 of them, tied for the most in the series. That's an absurd number. Only 2 career wins coming into the season. He got 3. I was on that championship ticket, or that season win total rather, of 1.5. He cleared that pretty easily, I think, by, I don't know, was Pocono his first win? I guess it wasn't Pocono, but by the end of the summer, had 2 poles coming into this season, got 7 of them, only had 525 laps led in the Cup Series. He had 884 this season, the 4th most. So, I mean, these guys were just everything you could have wanted them to be, other than it feels like they kind of fumbled the bag right there in the championship race with just the four tire call.
Yeah, and it was, like you said, it's barely them fumbling the bag. It was just one pit stop that didn't work out for him, and a couple blown tires there for the 19 that didn't work out in his favor. And it's funny you bring up MTJ, because it's almost a flip-flop of how MTJ was and how Hamlin has become. I nominated Hamlin as one of the most surprising drivers because he had gone almost a year without winning, goes and wins Spring Martinsville, and then breaks out.
Good point.
6-win season there. And in terms of what MTJ didn't win his last 2 years, I think he had really kind of
last year.
Yeah. Okay. So just last year he hadn't won. And this 19 team, we always kind of thought Briscoe might have had it in him. Early in the year, it was rough. Goes and wins the pole for the Coke 600, rips off all these great qualifying runs, gets that win at Pocono when we were there, and it was off to the races there. Can't forget about the season Christopher Bell had, though, as well. 4 victories for him, including 3 in a row in the season's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th races. 13 top 5s, 22 top 10s, and it was those 3 consecutive wins early in the year that had Bell as a title favorite. It's not that he had a bad year, still was super consistent down the stretch, wins the Bristol night race, one of the arguably crown jewels of the series. Just comes a little bit short of the championship 4 once again, not having the run he needs to at Martinsville. The kind of guy that if we do end up with a 10-race chase format or something different than this 1-race title race that we've seen the last decade, I think it only raises Christopher Bell's stock all the more.
I think it does as well. And for whatever reason, this guy just doesn't seem to have it at Fall Martinsville a couple years in a row here. He's great at Phoenix, though, right? Like, if he can get to Phoenix, and the one time he did get to Phoenix, or at least one of the 2 times he got to Phoenix, did he only maybe make it Phoenix once?
It feels like he's made it more than once, but I know what you're talking about, the year when he had the brake rotors.
Blew the brakes up, and so like, I think Chris Bell, he was stellar as usual here. I will say that the only thing that was a little bit disappointing was off to just an absolute heater to start the season. Wins Coda, right? Over SVG, over Kyle Busch, who dominated that race. And then after he gets his 3rd win in a row there, it was 23 races between his 3rd and 4th win of the season. I would like to see Chris Bell, when he gets a dominating streak like that, to kind of stay on the gas. And it felt like after that, he kind of put it in cruise a little bit for the season.
Yeah, but it also was a really tough year to win races. I mean, we've already talked about Bowman. We'll talk about Ty Gibbs here in a minute. Throughout the night, some other really good drivers that either got more wins than you would expect, or were not able to get to victory lane nearly as much as we thought they were. I don't want to make any excuses for these guys, because Ty Gibbs is especially a guy that we're running out of time to make those excuses for. 19th in the points this year, still looking for that first win. Only 5 top 5 and 10 top 10 finishes. Again, some season highlights there for him. Great run at Mexico City. If the pit strategy goes differently, maybe he does get it done over SVG that day. 201 laps led in that fall Bristol race, but we're still really waiting for Ty Gibbs to really break out, really make himself a perennial contender here. It's the same as Hendrick. You're going to have 3 really good cars, and the 4th car is not going to be on par. And you could say for Gibbs, just as much as Bowman, it might just be driver talent and maybe not being completely ready for the Cup Series on Gibbs' side. Still only, 22 years old or something. Still a lot to learn for the driver of the 54.
Yeah, I mean, there were times early in Ty Gibbs' career, especially when he started making those elevated starts for Kurt Busch, right, that we were all like, oh my gosh, this guy is going to come in and clean up in the Cup Series. Then he comes out, and 2024 out at Los Angeles there at the Clash, almost wins that race. And we're all like, wow, we got to get down on this over 0.5 season win total form. It got super juiced. We didn't take it. And ever since then, it feels like Ty Gibbs hasn't necessarily been that close to a win, right? He had a couple runs at Bristol that were really nice, but he seems to not really know how to manage his tires quite yet. And I did write him off pretty bad early in the season. And I will say I was very impressed by how he not handled my criticism, but I think he was getting a lot of criticism just in general from the media, and he really responded, especially at road courses, right? There are multiple road courses we went to this season, Elliot, that outside of SVG, it felt like Ty Gibbs had the most speed, even challenging, overtaking him a few different road courses. So that was really great to see. But overall, you look at the season, it's hard not to be somewhat disappointed with a guy who regressed almost in every major statistical category.
Yeah, with Gibbs, though, on the road courses, if you don't have the absolute cyborg that Shane Van Gisbergen is on road courses, maybe he does rip out one of those wins. He grabs Mexico City or Chicago or something along those lines. That just makes it really tough. And again, tough to win races because you have guys that just absolutely nail it, like Denny Hamlin getting 6 wins. Probably was not on anybody's bingo card.
Yeah.
Ty Gibbs not getting a win. I did cash a season long on the under there, which I think was plus money, but it's going to be interesting to see how this 54 team does in the future. In terms of the season long, though, for Gibbs, what's your letter grade for JGR?
Yeah, I'm going to go to an A, right? The only thing that takes it from an A+, you need to win the championship. You're right there. We have to execute. We have to have that final play, that final drive, and get it done for the fans and the team, and they just didn't do that. And also the Ty Gibbs decline. So that takes it from an A+ to an A, but arguably outside of those 2 fumbles, I mean, maybe the most dominant team in the series this season.
Yeah, they get my best grade. I'm giving them a straight A as well. Would be an A+ if they could have got the title. But when I look at the 4-car super teams that Hendrick and JGR are, Hendrick, I would say 2 of the 4 are title contenders. I don't think Chase Elliott had a championship contending title. Yeah. Maybe in the old Winston Latford system, you can 5th place your way to a title. It's not how it works in the modern day. For Gibbs, though, 3 out of the 4 bona fide title contenders. Chase Briscoe proved to everybody that he deserves this seat and will keep it for years to come. Chris Bell has the seat as long as he wants it. I believe it's also a contract year for him, but would be really surprised if he leaves this 20. And for Denny Hamlin, it sounds like he's not going to pull a Carl Edwards, but he did talk to Carl. He kind of gave some words to the media saying, man, I can't even think about being in a race car right now. I don't know if I'm going to race again, but sounds like Denny will come back and try to do it again. And they'll look for that A+ next year. All 3 of these guys have to walk into 2026 thinking, I can go out there and I can win the Cup Series title.
1,000%. And Denny, we need you, buddy. We need you back. The sport needs you. It's better when we have someone like Denny Hamlin in it. So I completely understand where he's coming from. That is heartbreaking. That is gut-wrenching to think you could go through a whole other season of getting as close as you ever have and not being able to get there. But we're here for you, Denny, and hopefully you're back so we can continue to hammer out some top 5s on you, buddy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He'll be important to bet. 2 more years in that number 11, as long as the lawsuit goes well. We'll talk about that once it gets started. The 1st of December is the start date there for the 2311 Front Row Motorsports lawsuit. Sounds like they're not settling and heading to trial with the last pre-trial meetings occurring this week. It'll be exciting for the offseason content, and we'll see what happens there and what really could change the sport. But anyway, enough about that. We got to keep looking back at what was also a pretty good season for the top Ford team. I'm grouping together Penske and Wood Brothers because the 21 is prepared in the Penske shop. Ryan Blaney, the highlight over there, 4 victories, a career high, I believe, for Blaney in the 12 car, including at Phoenix, the most forgotten win of the year every year when the guy wins the title, doesn't win the race. But 4 wins, 15 top 5s, 19 top 10s. Yeah, career high in wins for Blaney this year. All he needed was just to run a little better at Martinsville or to just not have the tire go down or whatever happened to him at Vegas. And the Penske dominance at Phoenix probably would have paid off once again for the 12.
Yeah, I think one of the most surprising things this season for a lot of people were no drivers in the championship for this program, right? I mean, 4 out of 4 in the playoffs for the 2nd straight year, so that was great. But Blaney really did get pretty much better across the board in almost every statistical category. The only issue was, I mean, look back at the beginning of the season, he had a ton of mechanical gremlins that were not his fault. I don't know what was going on with these Penske cars, and also just didn't win Martinsville this year. Right? Like that is such an important race, especially at the position he was in there after having some bad luck in the round of 8. So it's gut-wrenching for him as well. He could have had another championship, especially how that race ended there in Phoenix. Maybe he plays that differently if he actually is in the championship but there's no one other than Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney, I think, who have the best long-run speed in the Cup Series right now.
Yeah, it really was a year for Blaney that was a championship type of year, just didn't quite get there. You mentioned the mechanical gremlins early. Could have won Spring Phoenix potentially.
Yep.
Was on his way to winning Darlington before the Kyle Larson 300 laps down caution. Yep. The Denny Hamlin won that race. Instead, Homestead best car by quite a large margin and just blows a motor there in the 12 car. So it could have been an even better year for him. And I think not that, obviously he championed in 2023, multiple championship 4 appearances for Blaney, but he really has established his own at being one of the 2 to 4 best drivers in the Cup Series. Kind of as his teammate is also, or at least was at one point. Joey Logano still able to just make absolute magic happen in the 22. Yeah. Just one win this year at Texas, 7 top 5s, 13 top 10s, but they find a way to get it done in the playoffs. An improbable run to the round of 8 for the 22 team. 7th in points in a year where they were far from the 7th best car in the series, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is odd year Logano, right? Like, this is kind of what we come to expect. He went back to just one win, like the last 3 years that ended up in odd numbers. So I think really, though, like, he did pretty much remain almost identical across the board. He did lead 150 plus more laps and also improved his average finish from around 17 to closer to 15. So that was great. There are just, like, the one thing I love about Joey Logano from a betting standpoint, Elliot, is like, he is consistently good at the tracks he is consistently good at. And he's not going to surprise you usually on the tracks he is not good at. He might go out there and, like 2024 and pull Sonoma or something like that. That's kind of surprising. But aside from that, Joey Logano is good at what Joey Logano is good at. And he's not good at some of the tracks he's not. And that's kind of what we saw once again in 2025.
Yeah, and usually that was good to follow on the betting cards as well. I think it was the Roval. He was able to gut out a finish to get into the round of 8. But that was his first time outside the top 10 at the Roval. One of those where you can follow the good tracks and make some money on them. But It was odd year Logano. It's even though he's one of my first bets to bet on a championship or a straight forecast in the standings with the 12 and the 22, just wasn't meant to be this year for winning a championship for the 2 main Penske guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think we got to talk about these other 2 gyms on this board as well that certainly impressed at times, but also there was a little bit of disappointment, especially when you're looking back from a season holistic standpoint.
I would almost kind of think the other way. I think you can look at Cindric and Barry. We'll start with Cindric, able to pull off that win at Talladega, 14th in the points, but yeah, only 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s, but was able to advance out of the round of 16 and up in the round of 12. Obviously didn't work after that as he was eliminated and fell behind a few others who had been eliminated in the round of 16. But for Cindric, that's kind of what I expect out of him. Is his goal is to go out there and get a win every year. He's one of those drivers that you don't expect him to win a title. You don't expect him to rip out a bunch of top 5, top 10 runs. An Xfinity champion, obviously a talented driver. Penske's road course program, I feel like, has really held him back there. If he was in a car with a team better on road courses, he'd be more of a threat. But for Cindric going out there and winning a race, that's what I expect out of him. And I don't hate the year for the 2-car, even if it wasn't quite up to par, the same as the 12 and 22.
I don't either, but like the thing is, it's just disappointing because it felt like at times that we are going out there, especially from a DFS and a fantasy standpoint, where Cindric was a guy running inside the top 10 a lot of the day. And I don't know what happened. And sometimes he just didn't get those finishes, but it felt like a lot of the 1.5 miles and even short tracks this season, he was up there qualifying towards the top 10, a lot of times running in the top 10 for a lot of the day. I don't know if they're not making the correct changes down the stretch in that program. I don't know if they're just having bad luck at the end of the races, but it felt like there were just times where he should have more top 10s than that, right? Like that's really what it comes down to for me. Really actually regressed in almost all major statistical categories, aside from average start and laps led. So he felt more consistent, but he just didn't get the finishes. I will say the one thing about Austin Cindric, though, that gives him a boost to me, this guy's the best freaking super speedway racer in the series, and I don't think it's particularly close right now. So that he has going for him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Will be one of our favorites to bet for the Daytona 500 as well. And yeah, for Cindric, probably more about finishing up races. And it'll already be his 5th full-time year in the Cup Series in 2026. That's going to be the goal, I feel like, for the 2. Go out there, win one of those super speedway races, run a little more consistently, put yourself in a better spot for whatever playoff format ends up coming down the road. Josh Berry in the 21 car ends up getting his first career win at Las Vegas. 3 top 5s and 8 top 10s, so he bested Cindric in both of those categories and had race winning speed a little more often. Obviously wins Vegas. Easily could have won New Hampshire right behind Ryan Blaney there. Barry ends up 16th in the points because the playoff run was so bad. I think he finished in last place every race in the round of 16. Just absolutely terrible luck for him. Had no chance of advancing from that. But again, for Barry, you get the first win out of the way. You have some pretty good runs. You have some race winning speed. I can't really call it a failed season for Barry either.
No, you can't. You really can't, because One, he got his first win. So he's now in this tier of like the Michael McDowell's, kind of the Austin Cindric as well, where, hey, I can win races in this series. I can contend. I might not be a weekly top 10 finisher, but I'm still going to be a guy who can mix it in and, get my elbows up there when I need to. So that was great. Also, he still had way more top 10s than Harrison Burton did he had more top 10s this season specifically than Harrison Burton did in the 3 years with the team. So that, if that tells you anything about how good Barry is compared to what Burton was in this Wood Brothers racing car. He also doubled his career top 5 total this season and nearly did it with top 10s as well. His average finish, though, Elliot, I would like to see that jump up a little bit. Only 21.7 this season, only 1 point full position point ahead of what he did with SHR last year. So part of that was kind of those runs you were talking about in the playoffs where it's bad luck. You're getting 36. There's nothing you can do about it. But I just want to see him continue to be an every week contender. It felt like we were starting to get that early in the season after that Las Vegas win. We go to Texas. He's a top 10 car all day, has some pit road issues, never recovers. And it felt like we got that a lot towards the end of the season with that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of consistency for him as well. Again, another guy still inexperienced in Cup. 2026 will be his third full-time season, second in this 21 car. So there's still a lot to learn for these guys, even though, of course, Cindric, a lot of road course experience, Xfinity title. Barry having all those years in the late models, Xfinity series, good runs for him there. Still some more learning to do. Overall, I feel like they're in a pretty good spot. The driver lineup probably set for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. Not really expecting any changes there. In terms of a letter grade, what are you thinking for the Penske and Wood Brothers clan?
A fourth of the playoff grid was Team Penske or Wood Brothers cars. That was great. None of them got to the championship. It's a B+ for me.
Yeah, B+ is fair. I'm going to go with a B. I'll leave out the plus because they wanted to win the championship, and it would have been a year.
Yeah.
It's still probably, even with one of these cars winning the title, still might have been an A-. Blaney's the only one bringing speed every single week. I feel like for Logano, I know it's the even year Logano. We're expecting him next year to continue that trend and make the championship 4. But at this point, 2014 was the first of that stretch, and that'll be 12 years ago when we hit the end of the 2026 regular season. Wow. It very well could be the end of even year Logano as he continues to get older. It's just interesting it'll be arguably one of the more interesting storylines to watch next year, whether these guys can improve and whether anybody can really step it up to Blaney in this camp.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think your grade of a B is very, very fair. I can seem a little more liberal with my grades than you are. So interesting tell there. But yeah, I certainly think this will be one of the teams I am watching for, honestly, from the green flag, right? Daytona 500. I'm sure you and I, whether that's a laps led bet or whether that's a finishing or an outright, we'll be on Austin Cindric, potentially even some Logano action there right off the rip in week 1 in Daytona. And Penske, they're usually great on that, spring West Coast swing.
Hey, with the grades, I'm ruling with an iron fist. I'm going to be a little harsher. Every team that doesn't win the title, they don't consider their years a failure. But that's the goal.
Yeah.
In the back of your mind for just about every team in the garage is we want to go out there and get as close as we can for a title. So for 35 other full-time guys, they don't quite reach their goal. But there'll be some more variance here as we kind of dip down to the other teams. We've gotten the top teams for each manufacturer out of the way. And now the next highest will dip down to 2311 Racing, expanding to 3 full-time cars this year, Reddick, Wallace, and Herbst. For Tyler Reddick, best in the overall standings, but a fairly disappointing year for the 45. Yeah. Probably the best driver this year to not end up in victory lane again. A really hard year to win races. 7 top 5s, 14 top 10s. Again, Reddick, you saw some speed occasionally. P2 in the Daytona 500, P2 in the Southern 500 at the start of the playoffs, but not winning a race for Reddick. He expects to do more. He expects to do better for a guy who was in the championship 4 last year. 9th in the points is respectable, but I feel like not getting a win for this 45 team, that's the big story here, and it's a big-time negative for 2311.
Oh, I mean, that is the lead story, right? We can't bury that at all. We're not gonna tiptoe around that. 8 career wins coming in, a couple of those again with Richard Childress Racing, none this year. I mean, that is insane. He cut his top 5s and top 10s down nearly by a third. This was a guy who was honestly, Elliot, pretty unbettable for a lot of the years because of what numbers we were getting every single week. Like the books were still treating him like the top 10 automatic machine he was in 2024. He was not that this past year. He only led 169 laps compared to leading between 470 and 600 the last 3 years. So I don't know what happened to Tyler Reddick. Part of it might be the lawsuit that just kind of coming down and impacting the team. Obviously we're hearing a little discourse after the fact about ownership and thoughts within the circle on each other. I don't want to jump down that lane or anything, but Reddick, whether it's a byproduct of his own doing or the team, he suffered.
Yeah, it was not the year that they wanted, but it gave Bubba Wallace the opportunity to kind of rival Reddick. And for the first time since he's been to 2311, which of course is since the inception, it was always Kurt Busch is probably the number one driver. Tyler Reddick is the number one driver. Bubba Wallace is the only 2311 driver to get a win, and it was a heck of a win, winning his first race in a regular season in his career, taking home the Brickyard 400. 6 top 5s, 14 top 10s. Crew chief for Bubba Wallace this year. New father for Bubba Wallace. 11th in the points based on a kind of a mid round of 12, but really good in the round of 16. Really good at times in the regular season. In terms of race winning speed, obviously, leaving out the fact that he was the only one with a win, he probably had it just as much, if not a little more, than Reddick, and really put himself in the conversation to, for Bubba Wallace, it was a year where he kind of almost had to do this, right? He earned the ride on merit and on prospects back in 2021, but it was one of those, if he had kind of a rough year again, if the equipment continued to progress and he didn't, then you would kind of ask questions. But it was Bubba who progressed further than the team this year, putting himself in a really good spot.
Yeah, I don't know how you can't be satisfied with what Bubba Wallace did this season. Not only, as you mentioned, earning his first career regular season win, but also doing it in a crown jewel in the spectacular fashion that he did. Unbelievable scene out there in Indy. I was very, very happy for him. Also happy for myself. Had the over on his season win total, half a win there, so that was great. But yeah, man, I think what was impressive for me with Bubba is that probably wasn't his only win, right? I mean, we can all remember the fall race that he should have also probably won. Denny Hamlin, his team owner, gets a little aggressive with him, and neither one of them crossed the finish line first that day. So for me, same top 5s, same top 10s as a year ago, but he did lead 378 laps this season. That is almost as many as he had combined the past 2 years. So I love that. He did decrease his average finish by over 3 spots. There were some races, again, some of it was gremlins. We remember Pocono. I think a couple of us were pretty heavy over there in the IBT Racing family on him that day, and just had some bad luck, right? So that was a bummer, but overall, he made the round of 12. He won that crown jewel event. I'm good with Bubba Wallace here, and if we had a team full of Bubba Wallaces, I would say you could give 2311 as a whole an A, but that's not the case.
Yeah, fortunately not for Bubba there. In terms of the third team for 2311, there's 36 full-time drivers in the Cup Series. 35 of them had a top 10 finish. The 36th was Riley Herbst. Best finish of 14th at Spring, Texas. And not to say the quiet part out loud here, but it's fairly obvious that money is the reason that Riley Herbst is in this ride. Obviously, a few Xfinity wins. Obviously, a bright moment or two on the Cup side.
Yeah.
Is he a guy that should be in equipment like this, that should be in the Cup Series at all? I think this year turned out to be a resounding no, and it's going to need to be an impressive year for Herbst to get this right into a third year with a prospect like Corey Heim breathing down his neck. Even with a little less money at some point, especially with Michael Jordan's pockets, you're going to have to go with talent over what we've seen from Riley Herbst, which you can call it a lot of things. I don't know that you can call it talent.
Yeah, man. I mean, this takes you back to early in Riley Herbst's Xfinity career, right? We go all the way back there. A lot of people had similar feelings, and then it took him some time, but he finally got it together. It seemed like specifically having some success on some of the 1.5 miles, which was really nice. Had a little road course prowess down there in 2024 as well, but this was an utter disaster. He had 2 top 10s coming into the season in 8 Cup Series races, Elliot. 2 top 10s. And then he didn't have one this entire year. Just insane stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tough scene out there for Riley Herbst. I wish him all the best. And my hope for him is in 2026, go out there and drive it like you stole it, because you pretty much did, and you're not going to have that much time left in this car with Corey Heim coming. So just do your best, have fun with it, and enjoy every last moment of it, my friend.
Yeah, no doubt. There'll need to be some improvement there. I do have to give him credit. Cody Ware also did not have a top 10. I thought he was.
I was going to point that out. I didn't want to, belittle Cody Ware until later in the show. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll belittle Ware later in the show. I don't know if we're going to count them on the same level.
Also, the only driver since 2021 who have raced all 36 races and have not got a top 10. It was Ty Dillon, I believe, in 2023, and then also Quinn Hoff about Hauf, if you would, back in 2021. I don't want to disrespect Quinn Hauf.
Anytime you get grouped with Quinn Hauf and the Starcom team in the stats, man, you know something's not going right. In terms of grades here, we're both kind of on the same page here. For 2311, for me, it's a C-. You have the same grade as well. And it is because Bubba Wallace was improved that kind of kept it from being even lower. With Bubba, again, I sound like a broken record. Really tough year to win races, but you mentioned it. Gets in, obviously, in the playoffs with the Brickyard win. Gets past the round of 16. Would have made the round of 8 if he beat Kansas. And had the run at Talladega as well.
Good point.
Kansas, to where you could have seen the 23 in the championship for. Of course, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. In any case, though, we know 2311 needs to be better this year, and we're both on the same page here with a C-.
Yeah, absolutely. Last thing on Bubba, too. He went down, what I heard in the off seasons, that he went down to Daytona a few weeks early before the race, just lived in his camper. And I think that really got him prepared for this season. And I need that type of Bubba Wallace in 2026. I need you to continue to not only like drown the haters out, but also like we're past the haters, right? Like you are a certified absolute beast in this series and you need to act like it. So like, we all have a chip on our shoulder, Ellie, until one day you outgrow that chip. And I want to see him outgrow that chip here in 2026 and beyond.
That's the goal. And he really set himself up in 2025 to be able to go out and do that. Kind of like how we saw from Trackhouse Racing this past year. Ross Chastain, their lead driver in the points, gets the win at the Coca-Cola 600, 4 top 5s, 12 top 10s, winning that crown jewel there. The most excited moment of the year for him to go out there, win the World 600. Wasn't the playoff run that he wanted there, ends up coming up short in the round of 12. Went without a top 10 for a large portion of the year there. It was kind of a Trackhousey season for Chastain, and I kind of have mixed feelings on the number 1 car.
Oh, you and me both, brother, right? I mean, this could be labeled a disaster of a season for Ross if he didn't go out there and win that Coke 600, because he actually regressed again for the second straight year, pretty much across the board. Top 10s, top 5s, laps led, average finish, average starting position. He only led 83 laps this year, Ellie. I mean, that's a far cry for the guy we were seeing back in 2022 just cooking, right? I mean, one of the top 4 or 5 drivers in the series, making a championship 4 run, leading laps, contending for races week in and week out. Now it feels like he kind of, I don't want to say he has to get lucky, but he kind of has to be in the exact perfect situation to win a race. I think he has more skill and more talent than someone like Bubba Wallace. No offense to Bubba, but I think he's in that same tier where everything has to kind of go right for him to get into victory lane, which I just don't know why that's the case right now. It feels like some races, especially like go to Homestead, every season, just you can go ahead and fade Ross Chastain at Homestead, right? Guy has no speed there for whatever reason since 2022. And there are so many races this year as well where I was on him for a lot of them, hammered down on some big top 10s. And he would run top 10 most of the day and then just finish 11th, finish 12th. SVG would pass him at an oval with 5 to go. And I'm just, pulling out my hair.
Yeah, I had that even at Phoenix. I had 3 Chastain bets to end the year. I only cashed one of them because Reddick dropped like a rock with 2 to go. Otherwise, I would have missed all those. Yeah. Part of that, of course, track houses, they continue to expand. The resources get a little more stretched thin. Teams start to catch up a little bit. Of course, 22 was the first year of the next gen. They were probably able to play a little more advantage, have a little more parity there than we see now, where your Hendricks, your Penskes, your Gibbs are taking a large majority of the race wins, and your track houses, it's harder to catch up. Chastain, one of those guys that, I think he believes in the Trackhouse project, but he's almost starting to become, he's locked into being a cleaner driver now, a fairly consistent driver. Even if it's a little consistently worse, you're not seeing Chastain with as many of the boneheaded moments. He's a guy that, again, still some prime driving years left. I feel like we could still have the best of Ross Chastain yet to come.
We need you, Ross. We need you. We need some more race-winning Busch Light die-cast on the shelf, please.
Hey, the ones without a race win look pretty good too. Got the little Busch Light apple got delivered this week. That'll be
nice.
That'll be on the shelf when we go to the off season. So too, that little Red Bull 88, Shane Van Gisbergen, in what will be his only year in the 88. Trackhouse switching up some numbers there. He'll go back to his trademark 97 that he's run basically everywhere else every other year except this year for whatever reason.
Wow. Can we just talk about that video and the social team over at Trackhouse? They absolutely were in the lab cooking for weeks on that. That was beautiful. That almost brought me to tears, man.
Yeah, that was really cool. If you haven't seen that yet on Trackhouse's socials, to announce their number lineup for next year, They had Justin Marks write a letter to Chastain saying, hey, you're our number one. It's been super important to have you here. You're going to stick with number one. Dale Jr. writes Connor Zilich a letter saying, hey, you're going to continue on the legacy. Going to continue on the legacy of the 88. Zilich will drive the 88 next year for Trackhouse. And then SVG's dad writing him a letter saying, hey, we're so proud you're going to continue the legacy of your number 97 that he stuck with down in Supercars, ran in Xfinity, and he will run that on the Cup side next year. But hey, his 1 year in the 88, pretty darn good. I mean, 12th in the final standings, but 5 road course wins. They were only 5 top 5s on the year, but that's all he needed. 7 top 10s, had some better oval speed late in the year, but he was brought into the Cup Series to be the road course king, and it was an absolutely astounding success. At the beginning of the year, I remember the conversation was, we know SVG can run the road courses. We know he can run pretty well, but can he run with the Cup guys? The over-under, I think, was a 1.5 for SVG. Coda kind of proved into that sort of questioning, saying, well, he was all right. He was like 9th or something that day, goes out, wins every other road course race, multiple wins of 15-plus second margin of victories. SVG showing he's the road course king, and as long as he can get those wins, get into the playoffs, as the ovals continue to improve, you could see SVG making some playoff runs and not flaming out in the first round like we saw this year.
What a mixed bag of emotions I had as an SVG backer this year, right? Because you come into the season, that 1.5 season win total ticket was sitting out there for everyone for the taking. And I was like, all right, I got a boost over at Bet Rivers for the day, 50% boost. I went and took it over to the MAC and bet on Toledo to win that conference instead. That's been a disaster as well. And then we get to the first race of the season. We get down to Bowman Gray. SVG is a top 10 car. SVG has legit speed at an oval right off the rip, and I was scared. And then we go to Coda, and he did not have race-winning speed. I think something was honestly wrong with his car that day or something, and I think Ross would have been lucky to have a top 20 in that car. And then I felt good about that. And then we go on to see one of the most magnificent seasons we've ever seen for a rookie in the Cup Series. He broke Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart's record for the most wins by a Cup Series rookie. It was previously at 3, set in 1999 and 2002. They have now, Trackhouse as a whole, large part, thanks to SVG, they've more than doubled the team's previous season win total. I know you were actually on there under the season win total for this organization as a whole. So I am very.
I was on the under for a few teams. I was on the over for Trackhouse.
Oh, were you? Okay.
I was on the over for SVG, for Trackhouse, and for Ross. Ross didn't work out at 1.5, but no, don't get me wrong. Some over-unders didn't go well, but I was on the over for Trackhouse.
Okay.
Of year for SVG. Obviously, 6 wins for Trackhouse. I was expecting that to maybe be split a little differently. If you were going to tell me they were going to win 6, I would think, okay, SVG.
What was the number you took? 3.5, 2.5?
2.5 or 3.5. I'll have to go back and look. If you go back and watch last week, we break down our full season-long cards over there as well. I think it may have been 2.5.
What are you taking it? What are you taking next year if it's set at 6.5?
Under.
With Connor Zilich?
Yeah, Zilich is an interesting case study. We'll talk more about him, of course, when we talk about the series next week. It'll just be interesting because we kind of thought with SVG he wasn't going to go win all the road courses. With Zilich, is he going to run up there with SVG on all the road courses? Are things going to translate for him on the ovals? 6.5, I may have to take the under.
What about 5.5?
5.5, I'm probably taking the over. I think.
Okay. That's the line then. Okay.
6 wins, let's say 3 from SVG, 2 from Chastain, 1 from Zilich next year. I think could be a fair number.
Well, yeah, you can keep in mind if Zilich wins a race, it's likely going to come at the taking away expense of SVG's win, right? So that's the other thing I guess we got to keep in mind. Although, like, Zilich, honestly, he ran so good on ovals this year too by the end of the season that he could go win an oval.
It could just as easily be they absolutely nailed the setup at like a Kansas or something like that. But
Pocono? Yeah, I don't know.
Pocono, yeah, something like that. Just one of those random pluck it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Wow, they nailed the setup and they won. Almost kind of like Chastain at Charlotte. Really didn't go well at the beginning of the weekend for him there. Drives from last to first. You talk about driving it like you stole it. That was our likely winner, top nominee for driver of the year this year was Chastain, the Coke 600. It'll be fun to watch next year, but we can't finish the postmortem of 2025 without bringing up Daniel Suarez. Not the year that he wanted in that 99. 29th in the points, no wins, 2 top 5, 7 top 10s. Runner-up finishes at Vegas at the summer Daytona race. Vegas running second to Barry was about the only shot that I was like, oh, maybe Suarez could go up there and win a race. Maybe he ran better at the super speedways than I don't really remember. But for Suarez, he needed to have a really, really good year to stay in this car. And even that may not have been enough. And for Suarez, able to go over to Spire and have some more hope over there. But I think it was kind of a doomed year overall for Suarez, and he ran kind of like it was.
Yeah, very, very disappointing. And I kind of honestly forgot about that day out there in Las Vegas when he was leading some laps before Barry overtook him. That was a fond memory looking back at that. But yeah, dude, just like severely regress in every category. Top fives cut in half, 35 laps led this season to 209 a year ago. And like, that's not even counting that in 2024, if you remember, we went out and we go to the All-Star race and who's quick? Oh, Daniel Suarez? What? For real? Yeah, man. He was very quick that day. Led a ton of laps down there at one of our inaugural races down there at the restored track. So I was really happy to see that in 2024 and just didn't have it this year at all, man. The worst average finish since joining Trackhouse, worst finish on the season since joining Trackhouse. And I mean, hey, now he passes the torch to Connor Zilic, so I'm excited to see how that goes. But yeah, Daniel Suarez, better luck next year over at Spire. I think it's going to be tough sledding. Do you think if Suarez even spends 2 years in Spire, he could win a race there?
He's out after next season, because silly season is going to be so nuts. So many contracts expired.
True, yeah. I guess they could get a Bowman or someone there.
He'll need 2 wins to keep that 7 car, because you talk about a lot of guys could be out of big seats. They probably made a big run at Kyle Busch. I think that they're still thinking maybe Kyle Busch retires in a Spire car.
Oh, good point.
But it could very well take multiple wins for him to stick in that car because of how much Spire is on an upward trend, which we'll talk about in a couple of teams here. In terms of grades here, and it's silly for me to do this because obviously they brought in SVG to be a cornerstone. If you count SVG season, I'm giving them an A. If you take out SVG, it's probably a D-.
Yeah, I think SVG and a crown jewel, that gives it an A- for me. I mean, you got to have SVG in there, right? Like he's part of the team, so I'm not going to handicap it like that. But yeah, I'll give him an A-. But you're right. If we took SVG out, it's probably a D-, maybe an F, honestly.
Yeah, but hey, crown jewel win, and that's what they brought him in for. Trackhouse is setting up for major success there in the future, and we'll have to see how it goes. Last of the playoff cars here come with Richard Childress Racing, the 3 and the 8. Austin Dillon was able to pull out the Richmond magic once again. His lone top 5 of the year was that Richmond victory. 5 top 10s for Austin Dillon, and this was a very Austin Dillon season. Run kind of crappy most of the year. You know, maybe have a shot at one place or another. You go out and you pull out a win just in the most random way. And it was a year and it was a race at Richmond where after all of the things that happened in 2024 and all the criticism he got for how he won that race, going and doing it the right way and really earning it this year, you don't even have to really grade any other race for Austin Dillon. In that Richmond race, that makes the year for him going out there getting the win, and it bumps up the RCR grade by at least a letter for me.
That did so much for the career of Austin Dillon and the season as a whole, as you mentioned, dude. Like, it's unreal. I mean, not only did his average finish improve for the season long, which was great, but also, like, he dominated that race, too. Like, he deserved to win Richmond this year. And, you know, last year, let's not forget, too, not only do you have the controversy at the end where he loses the lead to Joey Logano and goes out and boots him, but there's also the whole online conspiracy that a certain mechanic or engineer got fired from Joe Gibbs Racing, potentially working with RCR on their setups that week. That guy becomes an RCR employee this year. I mean, I was all over that, right? Like that was my exact narrative why I did not bet AD when we went to Richmond this year. And I look like I and everyone else look just so dumb for even thinking that, because this guy proved it, man. I don't know what it is about, you know, those city limits of Richmond, Virginia. But Austin Dillon probably has a story or two from a couple after parties he's been to down there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Great race that day for Austin Dillon, and pretty much what we expected from him the rest of the way, out pretty clearly in the round of 16. And that's the upside for Austin Dillon. A guy who we expect more upside from is Kyle Busch, but we're now going on 2.5 years without a win for Kyle Busch. 21st in the points this year, 3 top 5s, 10 top 10s. Had that great run at COTA early in the year. That was the closest he came to a win this year, probably. In the playoffs, 3 top 10s in the playoff races. They booted Randall Burdett a little early. Jim Pullman going to come in and crew chief that car next year. And again, a contract year for Kyle Busch in the 8. Could be his last year at RCR. Both RC and KFB going to be hoping for a better season in 2026 because it was not the best of years in 25.
This is what I want all the IBT racing family members to do. Go out to your local gas station that doesn't get frequented too much. Go into the back of the store, find yourself a Rowdy energy drink, and pour one out for Rowdy Nation right now, folks, because this has
I
been.
don't know if those are still in stores. That's been a couple of years now that they've been.
That's why you go to the gas station no one goes to, right? Because they might be a little expired. So you might, find the little, quick fill or Unimart in the back of town, and maybe they're still hanging around there. But yeah, so ever since Rowdy Energy went away, though, man, it ain't been good for Kyle Busch here. We're not talking about, what we did last week with on the Truck Series side. He was also pretty hard to bet on, and he regressed even further, career low in top fives, in laps led as well. And it felt like he just had fewer chances to win this season, right? At least 2024, you could hang on to the hope was, okay, well, he almost won the fall Daytona race. Oh, he almost won the Southern 500. Oh, he almost won COTA this year. Like, that's pretty much all you can really hang your hat on.
Well, Kansas last year also, before it gets spun out trying to pass the lap.
Yes, good point there. But outside of like COTA in 2025, like he had top fives that came at Chicago and at Phoenix at the end of the year. Like those were really his runs. And I don't think he was a threat to win either one of those races. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I would agree with you there. And it's kind of a catch-22 or sorts or whatever you want to say of, is it just Kyle Busch is regressing? Is it just that RCR is not that good? Was it Randall Burnett not being an effective enough crew chief? It's just a whole mixed bag over here. And it could very well be all of the above again next year.
Less of him regressing, I think. I think I think part of that is just like, how much are you still fired up to go out and, race in the fall when you've had just an absolutely atrocious season?
Yeah. And I mean, with Kyle Busch, focusing a lot more on his kids racing career.
Yeah.
And it's a deal with Kyle Busch. Maybe he still is the same driver that he was, but I just don't see him getting into a top ride again the rest of his career. I don't know that Gibbs is opening a seat for him again. I don't know that Hendrick is going to put him in a car. And I don't think there's room at the end at Penske unless they throw Austin Cindric out of the 2-car, which would be kind of weird. And even then, is it a risk you want to take on a 40-whatever-year-old guy who hasn't won in, could be 3.5 years sitting here this time next year? This just may be what we have for Rowdy for the foreseeable future.
Question and a comment follow-up for you on that. The comment being, I think the only way he gets back in over at Joe Gibbs Racing is if like Denny Hamlin leaves in the next year or two, right? I think that's probably the opening door. Also, are his sponsors that he's running right now, like Cheddar's and Zones, are those personal sponsors or are those RCR sponsors?
I know Cheddar's ran with Reddick when he was there, but
yes.
And that was a big part of why Gibbs let him go in the first place. It wasn't necessarily that they were going to push him out immediately for Ty Gibbs. It was they didn't want that rotating cast of sponsors, which is ironic that it happened with Denny Hamlin this year. They did it for Denny, but wouldn't do it for Kyle Busch. And it's a lot of sponsors too that RC.
Three chai.
Yeah, RC is going to embrace things that Joe Gibbs over there in the Bible Belt of JGR. He's not going to put a bourbon on his car. He's not going to put nicotine pouches on his car. He's not going to put Delta 8, you know what on his car either.
You're telling me Coach Gibbs don't like a little rip for the boys? No?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, all right.
We need to work in a bleep in there. But in any case, it's one of those where Kyle Busch, he's putting in the work to get sponsorship. He's not running unsponsored. You could even throw in BetMGM. Who knows if Joe Gibbs would want to see a gambling platform on his cars. I don't know that it'd be something that we would see. But overall, the general point is Kyle Busch going to need to see some more. Austin Dillon, it's going to be the same stat line next year. He'll pull out a win at Phoenix or something ridiculous for no reason. It'll be the same sort of year there until he decides that he wants to run RCR and RC hang it up. Lower grades, we didn't get to that yet. I would honestly think if Kyle Busch had ran a little better, I'd be talking about a B. If you'd gotten Kyle Busch victory lane, maybe even a B+, if not an A-. I'm going to go with a C, though, for RCR. And it looks like you're kind of on the same page as well.
Yeah, C-, I guess. So pretty lockstep with you, honestly. Like, maybe it is a C because that Richmond win does really mean a lot. So, yeah, I can mess around and find out the C, maybe. I'm going to switch to a C. I'll go to a C because I think your compelling case about that win back in the summer really does mean something.
Yeah, I'm good with a C for RC. That wraps up the playoff teams. Now to the teams that missed out on the playoffs this year. Most notably, Roush, Fenway, Keselowski Racing. They came close, though. If you look at the season-long standings, Buescher was 17th, Ryan Preece 18th, Brad Keselowski 20th. So they were all right there, but they were unable to get to victory lane. Again, broken record, maybe the last time I'll say it. Really hard year to win races. Overall, decent season. We'll start with Buescher, though. 5 top 5, 16 top 10s, had top 3 runs at both Michigan and Watkins Glen. Buescher, the guy who you expect to go out there and win a race or two every year, and it just didn't happen this year for the 17 team.
No, and I'm super disappointed by it because I was on that 40-1 championship future, right? This is the first time in the next gen era that Chris Buescher has no wins. So that's a big bummer. And also, he did improve his average start by 6 spots. That was great because I remember as a chronic Chris Buescher better, right, that he would consistently start in 17th, 25th, and right have to make his way up in previous seasons, but finally slowly started to find that a little bit. So that was great there. I think the disappointing part is that he led just 48 laps. That is a quarter of the laps he has led the last 3 years, right? Each individual year, not just combined. So that's been a huge disappointment. It just felt like there were less races this year where he could really win too, right? Had some surprising speed at Pocono. I was not expecting that. I don't think you were either, being on the ground there. And then also Michigan, he had some speed, which he always usually has some speed at Michigan since winning there. And then Watkins Glen again, he had some real speed. But it felt like outside of those few races, had a couple good runs at Phoenix. But aside from that, I just didn't think like, oh, this is the Chris Buescher win week, right? I was betting him, pre-flop like he might, but he just never unloaded like a top 5 car, and he rarely had top 5 speed.
Yeah, it just wasn't the year that Buescher wanted. And it's almost, worse stats, but a reverse kind of feeling for Ryan Preece, the 60 car running full-time this year. Wasn't able to get his first Cup win, but 3 top 5s, 14 top 10s, career best for Ryan Preece. And arguably, you could argue the 60 had more race winning speed than the 17 did this year. A pretty solid year for Ryan Preece for sure.
Yeah, man, just sensational stuff for a new third team too. Like that's the one thing we need to keep in mind. All these employees, they were not employed here a year ago. So nearly doubled his career top 5s and top 10s this season alone. Best average finish by over 5 spots. So Ryan Preece, I mean, we talked about last week, arguably the most surprising driver, arguably the most out of nowhere comeback driver of the year, whatever you want to say it. This guy was it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Preece, a really impressive year, and they've got a lot of hope in the next season as well. You can say that for Brad Keselowski too. 6 top 5s, 13 top 10s, unable to get a win this year. But for Keselowski, we started the year, had a lot of bad luck, a lot of poor runs. We're thinking, man, we got to get this guy out of the car. Owner Brad has got to step in on driver Brad, get him out of there for a better prospect. But Keselowski really improved his consistency over the second half of the year. You know the stat I'm going to pull out because I pulled it out just about every week down the stretch. 13 of the final 19 oval races,
crazy.
Keselowski finished in the top 10. So you look at it from that perspective, the 6 car more successful than we kind of thought about, more successful than maybe you would expect for what was arguably at times the 3rd car for RFK, ran pretty well down the stretch, the championship caliber that we've seen from Brad Keselowski in the past, coming in with the wily old veteran to get him a better finish more often than not.
Man, I'll give you a lot of credit, Elliot, for not only going back to that trend now, but how you did towards the end of the season. You kept betting Brad Keselowski, and I never came with you, and I regret it drastically. I didn't actually bet on Brad Keselowski one time this past year. And it's part of just how bad he started out, right? But he slowly started getting it together so much so that he almost went and stole Phoenix. This guy almost won the championship race. And like, honestly, he didn't have a major regression. He did a little bit regress in average finish and laps led, but it wasn't like a Buescher level regression. So Kez was really good down the stretch, man. So I got to give you credit. I got to give him credit and this entire organization for rallying after he was sitting 30th plus in points, I think, through the first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, he was in pretty rough shape there, but ended the season pretty well. And with RFK, no wins this year, obviously going to bring down that letter grade a little bit. They wanted more, but with RFK, we could very well be sitting post-Daytona saying one of these 3 cars ends up getting a win. Even a guy like Keselowski, you could go from he should be out of the car to, man, he just locked himself into the playoffs in the first race of the year and finally gets that Daytona 500 win.
Yep. All that being said, for me, wins are what pay in this business. So I'm a C. I really think that Ryan Preece lifts them up a little bit. Brad Keselowski's late season speed lifts him up, but his disappointing start to the season and also Chris Buescher just overall falling flat is what brings it to a C for me.
Yeah, C is exactly what I had in mind too. if you get a win, arguably maybe even to a B, because I feel like if one of these teams had won, they make a deep playoff run or at the very least get past the first round. That's what they'll be hoping for next year. But for RFK, it was a day late and a dollar short throughout the rest of the year. And again, you look at it's 17 and the 60, you look at it differently. Spire Motorsports didn't win it all this year either, but you almost have a more positive sense as to where they're going, being a newer team. Led by Michael McDowell, first year in the 71, 22nd in the points, 3 top 5s and 6 top 10s. He was one of those 2 guys with Spire that came fairly close to a win, really contended at Chicago before the throttle cable broke, and at Texas, right up there with Joey Logano late on in that race to potentially go out there and get a win. For McDowell, he's on the roll of taking front row. He took front row up to where he took them multiple-time race winner, trying to do the same here at Spire and really led the way this year for this team.
I just think of every time I think about Spire Motorsports' 2025 season, I just think, I don't know if you've ever heard the song Speed by Montgomery Gentry, but speed, how fast will it go? Will you get me over her quickly? 0 to 60. That is what I think, because this team just had a ton of speed, Elliot. They just didn't capitalize enough, specifically Michael McDowell, because it was kind of the last few seasons that we had seen this guy be exactly what he was here. You're going to get 2 to 3 top 5s out of him. You're going to get 7 to 10 top 10s out of him. That's exactly what he had this year. But he actually did have shots at potential wins. Texas, keep in mind, and then Chicago as well. He was looking fast there. So disappointing end to his season and how everything finished out. But speed, man, it was there.
I think in Phoenix, I don't know if he ran top 10 in that tide ride at the end of the race, but something good to end the year on for the 71. They'll hope to be better. And so will Carson Hocevar. I don't know that anyone has more upside potentially in the Cup Series right now than Hocevar. 23rd in the points, 2 top 5s, 9 top 10 finishes. I believe the stat was that in terms of positions nobody ran in 7th place more than Carson Hocevar this year, which is better than we expected for Spire in the 77. Really contended for wins at Charlotte and at Michigan. Ran second at Nashville to Ryan Blaney, and in the Atlanta races as well. That 3-wide finish that would have been pretty similar to 24, but the caution comes out, and Christopher Bell takes the win there. It's just a matter of Hocevar keeping his head on his shoulders and taking advantage of the speed, putting together full races. He's the guy who I'm sure is over-under probably is at half a win, and he may be one of my generational slamming the overs if that's the line next year.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, he's another guy, right, who had a whole lot of speed. Yeah, improved in the top 5s, improved in top 10s, but did regress in average finish actually, just because of some poor performances, also some gremlins here and there. But I think you mentioned it, Elliot. What's most important though, he had race-winning speed multiple times this season, specifically on miles and halves. Led 122 laps. That is great for Hocevar. So in that sense of the season is a success for him.
So we'll go from relatively successful seasons for McDowell and Hocevar to pretty abject failure for Justin Haley. No wins, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s. Had the P3 at Summer Daytona that almost saved his season.
Yeah.
31st in the points, and he is back to the Truck Series next year. 7 cars, supposedly Spire's lead car, by far the worst this year.
Somehow regress in top 10s. Doesn't make any sense. He did improve his average finish, but not nearly enough for driving most of 2024 with our RWR, right? I mean, that's why you're out of the seat, Justin Haley. It sucks. I think, honestly, though, this whole team, whether it was Rodney Childress leaving in the middle of the season, that was weird. Whether it was his crew getting stolen by Kyle Larson's team for the year, that was weird. So Justin Haley kind of in a rough spot, but he also didn't execute on the track.
No, not even a little bit for Haley. Going to be one of those guys where I think he's going to play the Allmendinger card of, hey, Kaulig is the team that I've ran the best with that kind of saved me. Him staying in the Kaulig shop is probably the move now. He'll run one of those Ram trucks next year. But again, we'll talk more about next year. Next year, now down to some of the 2-car teams, starting with Legacy Motor Club.
What was your grade for? What was your grade there?
Grade, yeah, geez, we're forgetting about the grades here. For Spire, I'll click back over to them for posterity's sake. I'm going with a C. If you just look at the 71 and 77, I might have to go A-, but again, we're putting together as all the teams. Yeah. It's a straight C for me for Spire.
Okay, I'm going to go with B-. Race winning speed was there. I just need more consistently, specifically out of that 3rd car. So I think a C is also justified. But yeah, let's keep it moving here. We got about 11 or so minutes left in the program here.
Yeah, and hey, with Suarez in there, they're going to help to run better. It's a lot easier to review the seasons for the teams that really didn't have good ones. Legacy, though, kind of the last team on the edge of some positivity here. 24th and 25th in the points with Jones and JHN. 4 top 5s for Jones and 5 top 10s. For JHN, 2 top 5s and 8 top 10s there. They ran 3rd and 4th at the Southern 500, career highs in top 5s and top 10s for JHN. They are a team that had a couple of really rough years, building their notebook up. Safe to say the notebook is starting to be built, and we've seen some big-time positives this year out of Legacy Motor Club.
Just outstanding. This is what we want to see, man. We want to see programs continue to get better, and they certainly did here. JHN went from no top 5s in his career to 3, doubled his top 10s, and cut his average finish by 5 whole spots. So that was fantastic. And Eric Jones as well, man. Like, he doubled the amount of top 5s he had in his legacy career by 2 this year. So that was great. And also, the thing with him is, I think like JHN almost kind of was more impressive at times this year. Like, Eric Jones barely led any laps. I bet if you look at their average position on the season, it might be better for JHN, honestly. So yeah, I'm here. Like, I love what Legacy did. What is your thoughts on them as a whole, Eric Jones? And then what's your letter grade?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for these two guys heading into another full season with the notebook fully built.
Yeah.
JHN, of course, was real nice to cash a couple long shot top 10s on him throughout the summer.
One at Pocono, baby. Don't forget it.
Yeah, biggest one at Pocono really helped me out there. I'm going to give them a B. Obviously, they didn't win a race. They wanted to go out there and win a race. But it's a team that I'm maybe more excited about than anyone else in the garage heading into next season, because these two drivers have talent also.
A- for me. I'm right there with you. I want to see them compete for some more wins. We saw Eric Jones mixing it up late there in the season in a few spots, and JHN having some top 5, top 10 speed. But we need to see them get a win next year. That is the only way I think they stay in the A territory for me next year, is if they continue to take another step forward, which is getting a dub.
They have the race winning talent there. We know it. So, all right, we've had some positives for most of these teams. I think now we're going to dip into the teams where it has to be mostly negative, which is kind of rough. It starts with Kaulig Racing. Don't get me wrong. They had some bright spots. Allmendinger, 2 top 5, 7 top 10s, ran 4th at the Coke 600. Road course speed was not there really at all for the 16. It was just kind of one of those Kaulig-y seasons. And then 26 in the points for Allmendinger, 33rd in the standings for Ty Dillon, just 1 top 10. Thank goodness he had that in-season challenge run. That was the highlight of the year for Ty Dillon in a year, and once again in a continued Cup Series career with very little highlights for Ty Dillon.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Ty did improve his average finish by 3, so that was very impressive. But still, has only had now 1 multi-top 10 season since 2020. That is pretty despicable, honestly. And AJ, the disappointing thing for him here, he had 5 top 10s and 16 races in Kaulig equipment a season ago. You mentioned it. This year for him, only 7 top 10s. I mean, and the good thing about him is, like, he's still really consistent on the tracks you think he's going to be good at on ovals right now. With Las Vegas, Homestead, Charlotte, you can lock in those 3 usually as him having some speed there. But he honestly kind of regressed on road courses. Like, he's not been a true competitor. We smashed him for a Roval top 10. But outside of that, there wasn't really a lot of avenues into him. And he really regressed overall since his last full-time season back in 2023.
Yeah, and in terms of Kaulig, for this year, I think we're kind of on the same page here. I'm going to go C-. Some bright spots there that we normally don't see. Heading into 2026, this team may not have Ty Dillon in the car. Not sure who's going to be in that car full-time, if anybody. They're losing Chevrolet support because of running Rams in the trucks, and they're losing the RCR Alliance, which is part of why Ty Dillon may not be in there. I don't know that I will bet Kaulig a single time all next year with all that factors in.
Yeah, losing the support for a team that already blew up in the 500 and multiple other times does not feel great. I will tell you that much for certain. But yeah, I'm with you, C-, and I think it'd be closer to a D if it wasn't for that brilliant run that we had from our guy Ty Dillon there in the in-season tournament.
Yeah, shout out to Denny Hamlin wrecking at Atlanta and Ty not being afraid to use the chrome horn on Bowman in the last corner at Sonoma there. Kaulig going to be rough. We're expecting better from front row. 3-car team, 27th in the points, Todd Gilliland, 28th in the points, Zane Smith, 34th in the points, Noah Gragson. Each of them did have a top 5 on the year, 1 apiece. 5 top 10s for Gilliland and Smith, just 3 for Noah Gragson. Couple of good runs. Of course, we saw Todd Gilliland kind of play to his strengths. Some top 10 runs, Indianapolis, Martinsville, Talladega. Zane Smith was kind of sporty in the summer Atlanta race. Gragson had a couple pop out, top 10 in the Coke 600 and at COTA, some pretty impressive runs. Overall, though, we were kind of expecting this team to maybe sniff a playoff spot. I took the under for their win total, which hit. Just probably a team that we really, really need to see more out of next year, assuming the lawsuit stuff goes well. They have some good young prospects, and they're locked in. But in terms of how 25 went for them, it's about as close to a failure as you can get. I think my letter grade, I'll be nice. I'm not going to give them an F. It's a D- though for me for FRM.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm in an F plus. So right in there with you, trying to be a little generous. What was the season win total? Half a win? Is that what you got for the team? Okay. Okay. And like the thing is, like Todd Gillen, the results from this year to last year don't look dissimilar, but he had way less speed this year. He was led, 130 laps a year ago. He went on that wild top 20 streak as well. It just didn't have that same juice this season. Noah Gragson regressed by over 50% in the top 10s, 5 spots below his average finish from a year ago in SHR equipment when they're going out the door. Zane was really the only one here to improve, and it was pretty modest gains for him. So the lawsuit, I think, impacted this team more than it did 2311 for whatever reason. But yeah, I'm in an F plus, and I can't really recall any time they had a chance to sniff a win. And I can't recall outside of Noah Gragson at Las Vegas. Maybe I took a long shot on Todd Gillen for a top 10 here and there that I bet these guys. So
yeah, I rode Gillen at the Fall Martinsville race, went fairly well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Group betting on the top 10 there, but yeah,
road course is terrible for him too, and he used to be a good road course driver.
Yeah, pretty bad there overall. And yeah, for maybe Summer Atlanta with Zane, maybe Fall Talladega with Gillen, but other than that, really no shot at wins here. And a team that, of course, their pocket's not quite as deep as 2311, but yeah, we're going to need to see better from them. That ends the multi-car teams, and shocker, in the modern day of NASCAR, it's the single car teams that are running for the most poorly. That's just kind of how it goes. Hyak Motorsports, formerly known as JTG Doherty Racing, their first year without the JTG, and I think Doherty's still stuck around, but Gordon Smith from Hyak sticking around there. 30th in the points for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 47, 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. Earlier in the year, hung around in the playoff points positions, had a couple decent runs, was as high as 13th in the standings after the Coke 600, really fell off in the summertime, ends up 30th in points, not particularly close to a win, not even at the super speedways really for Ricky.
Yeah, top 5's cut in half, top 10's cut in half from the last 2 years. So it also ends the streak of 2 straight seasons with a win, and also no memorable Ricky moments really outside of some speed at Pocono, which was cool, and then rubbing with Carson Hocevar a few weeks there in the summer was real fun. But aside from that, it's a D for me for Hyak.
Yeah, I'm going to go with probably a D plus just because they were, they ran things a lot differently this year.
Okay.
Harder than ever to be a single car team in the sport. Overall, fairly respectable. It's nice to see them stick around, and I think they're going to continue moving on into 2026. Haas factory team, 41 of Cole Custer. We knew things were going to get worse, and they did. 32nd in the points. The most recent full-time Haas solo entry before Tony Stewart came in. We were looking back to 2008. They ran Scott Riggs in the number 66 car in 2008. He missed 2 races and still finished better in the points back then, 31st, than Cole Custer could this year, 37th. Wow. 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, nearly won both Daytona races, which would have taken this season to an unbelievable standard. Ran 5th at the Fall Talladega race, top 10 at Mexico City for some reason. But we know Custer's a good driver. We just know that this team has no support. They don't have the resources. They don't, not even that they don't care, but this is the Haas that we saw back in 2008 that has made 0 progress since then. Tony Stewart has backed out, and now we're right back to the good old Gene Haas that we know and love.
Yeah, man. Oh, how about it? We know and love it for sure. And yeah, just super disappointing. I will say, though, like, to his credit, Cole Custer almost won both those Daytona races. That would have been freaking sweet for a guy who was holding on to a 300-1 championship. Did get on him. And but also, like, a solid top 10 in Mexico. And that wasn't a fluke. He was up top 10 from the moment we unloaded that weekend to the moment we went home. And also, he was pretty much a top 10 car all day long at Martinsville. Didn't close it out with a top 10. So with those, and also kind of given the circumstances, like, this was supposed to be an RFK aligned team. I don't know if that will still be a thing next year. I don't know what's happening, but
like, I'm switching to Chevy next year. That's right.
Yeah. So I think
for them, and could arguably be worse.
Yeah, so I don't know if like some of the support got cut off mid-season because of that, or I don't know what happened here, but regardless, it's a C- for me just because I thought the run at Mexico was really good. I thought the run in the Ville was good, and then those super speedway contending races were really fun for Cole Custer. Just got to hang on and got to stop switching lanes so late in those races, I think.
Yeah, you're more generous than I. For me, I know Cole Custer's a better driver. I know this team can be better. It is a failure of a year for me, and I'm fully expecting to give them an F next season. Unless they can pull out a win. And speaking of Fs, We'll round it out with Rick Ware Racing. We had all the faith in the world after 2024 that, they had Justin Haley run pretty well. They had Grawler run quite a bit in there. Maybe Rick Ware is turning a corner. This year, they go back to one full-time team, and they run Cody Ware all season there. No top 10s, best finish of 13th at Summer Atlanta. Led 23 laps and finished P20 at Summer Daytona. That was the highlight. Rick Ware, of course, has sold the majority interest of his team to TJ Pusher, one of the guys who founded Spire. Cody Ware is just not a guy who can run full-time in a cup car and have success. I just don't think that it's there. I think that at some point they're going to have to, maybe it won't be next year, they're going to have to push Cody Ware out. They're going to have to get as much of the wear out of this team as they can to be able to put anything together that's anything more than a failure of a year.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know, too, like what the future holds for this team right now. Right? With all the charter deals and everything happening, not totally sure there. The craziest part about this is this guy could have won the Daytona 500. I won't forget that because he was on the inside lane of William Byron on that crazy restart that tore up everyone. And William Byron gets by, he gets snake bit and didn't finish on the lead lap. Like FML myself on that one. I was on the lead lap finisher. I'll never forget that one. And just one top 20 this season, Elliot. One top 20, Atlanta 2. That's it.
And that's what we expected from Rick Ware when Cody Ware was full-time in this seat. I love some good family racing, but go down there and do it in the late models. Let's be contenders in the Cup Series if we get here. Not the year that we wanted. Not the year anybody wanted from the 51, but exactly what we expected. All right, so that closes the book on the Cup Series for 2020.
F, right?
Yes,
okay.
Of course. I led with that, and we're going to end with that for sure. Closes the book on the Cup Series for 2025. And, of course, all the charter drama, all this stuff going on. Next week, we get to ignore it because we get to talk about the Xfinity and the Truck Series team grades. We'll go through all the teams there. Close the book on the Xfinity Series as it turns into the O'Reilly Series, and break down Corey Hyman and everyone else in the Truck Series, which is an A+, and then below an A+ over there. A fun show tonight, though, Seth. Any final words before we finish up?
No, appreciate everyone's support of the channel. Easiest way to do that is give this video a thumbs up if you rode with us this long. Also, make sure you subscribe if you're new, and check out the IBT Racing family if you want to chat more with us. We have some really fun things planned for that community over there and the YouTube channel, the website as a whole in 2026. So really looking forward to that. In the meantime, in addition to the wonderful Backroad program we have here, we also have fantasy football, NFL betting coverage over there on the IBT podcast. We put out some college football betting stuff on the website, also some shorts and stuff here on the YouTube channel when we can. PGA betting will be back in full swing next year. Excited for that. And some entertainment betting content in the meanwhile, too. A lot of November blockbusters being released, while some reviews of those on the site, also here on YouTube, and any picks and predictions we can make for the box office numbers, the Rotten Tomato scores, all that stuff. So really excited to continue to cash more with people and to enjoy the ride along the way here in 2026, my friend.
Yeah, no doubt. Hope the entertainment bettors took the under on that Christie movie. Doesn't sound like that. But all right, thanks for rolling on down the back road with us tonight.
Thanks, guys.
All the links to the fun in the episode description. Go check it out. See you later.